This is the Team Objection podcast for December 5th, 2019, episode 416. You may notice there is a slightly different configuration here. We haven't had the 4-shot in a while, but in doing so, we have two kind of different people involved in the fray here. On the one hand, below me is Michaela. You have seen her in other projects. She's on the video channel a lot. She's been on the show before. It's been a while. And the number 4 quadrant, we have another person who has not been here in quite some time. The last time he was here, we were all roasting to death in a Phoenix living room. Gary is back.
Hold on. I'm about to beat the game right now. Okay, we're good. I just beat the game.
The credits are rolling as we speak. They're actually not even put it to sleep.
Pokemon Shield. Yeah, it was an incredible game. If you know the music, then you know I'm not lying.
Have you really not been here since that dreadful Phoenix show?
I told Chris that that I was like, oh, this isn't called At the Buzzer anymore. And
it's been a while.
and he was like, no, it isn't. Look at the name on the screen. I was like, oh. And by the way, that you don't call your fans objectors is a huge mistake. Very big oversight.
Maybe we do. How many episodes have you listened to of the show?
Of this show?
Yeah,
none.
That's exactly.
I'm sorry.
Maybe we do.
I didn't know you had pivoted. I feel really bad. I'm on the spot. This is very embarrassing. Do they get this in Australia? I bet they do.
I
have no excuse.
We're worldwide.
Yeah,
we're Mr. Worldwide.
You're around the world.
The whole
Yeah.
podcast.
Got it. So I've got no excuse.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's upside down there, but it still comes through fine.
Hold on. Much like I just beat the game, by the time Chris is done, I will have listened to all the episodes,
Oh, okay.
back episodes.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect then.
So
Yeah.
Gary sort of introed that today's episode is a review of Pokemon Sword and Shield. We've all played it.
Yes. Most of us have beaten it.
Yes. And I think we all exclusively played Shield, so our
Yes.
reviews might be a little biased
We're not
towards
reviewing
Shield.
Sword at all, but the differences are very minimal.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about them briefly.
True.
As always, I'm going to give you this warning up front. There are spoilers. It should not surprise you that there are spoilers, but just in case, we're going to go into pretty much everything that happens, the story, as it were, the mechanics, etc. So if for some reason you've been interested in this game, but you haven't played it yet, I don't know why you're here. It's been a month. Go fucking play it.
But if you're on the fence and you don't mind a few spoilers, by all means.
Yeah, this is
keep
the place
listening.
for you. And then we're not going to be spoiling like, oh my god, did you see that plot twist? I never believed that would happen.
There
it's
is
a
no
Pokemon
plot
game.
twist.
There really is.
You're fine.
Well,
Yeah.
but Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Absolutely.
That's in Pokemon, actually.
And
That's
Rosebud
a
is
big part of the
sled.
game. Big
But-
part of the game.
Other than that, it's not a big deal. So
This is a weird configuration. To me, Chris, us being the OGs here, this is like when Roper started inviting like weird people after Ebert died. Like weird losers who had no chance of actually being on the show long term. That's what Michaela and Gary are right now.
Wow.
There are so many of those losers that are going to see this and go, hey,
hey, I'm a Roper wannabe
I
partner.
was a good critic. I'm a fine
It's
critic.
like when the show is called Roper and Company. You guys are the end company.
Roper and Company sounds like a spinoff of Sesame Street for some reason. There's no character on Sesame Street
No,
named
he's
Roper.
bad.
Mr. Hooper.
Roper's not
Oh, yeah.
good for Sesame
That's
Street
what it is.
kids.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Mhm.
That doesn't seem like a good fit.
Okay, anyways, Pokemon. The
So
review.
let's tackle the game first. This is our structure. We're doing it on the fly. We haven't talked about this before. Game first. Talk about it. Then we'll worry about ranking it with the series and whatnot. And I think at the end we can address some of the overarching issues, namely Dexit. I don't want to bring that up in the middle of it. I feel like it's out of place there, but
Okay.
we can decide.
That's a great name for something.
It is something, all right. We'll get there.
This was more than any other Pokemon game. This was the one I almost didn't buy. I say that after every generation. I'm like, and then I fold, and then I get it, and I'm like, I wish I didn't get it. This was very mediocre. For the first time, so I almost didn't get this one. I enjoyed this game to, I guess, tip my hat more than any Pokemon game since probably Gold Silver. That's my
which is
drop
a high
the mic
standard.
statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's 5, 6, 7 generations ago.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I actually want to challenge this because for me, Gold and Silver got me out of Pokemon for several generations.
Yeah, well, but arguing the merits of Gold Silver, that's for another time. But what did you think of this one?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
The one that I beat right
The one-
as
yeah.
this was starting?
Now that you got the full Pokemon Shield experience.
By the way, beating it is beating the second gym, right? That's
yes.
the okay.
There's only 2 gyms.
There's only 2 gyms in this game. What I
really
really
short.
like is that they streamline the game for those of us that are only sort of casual players. Being in the middle of it right now, the short answer is that it is it's pretty awesome. Like, but I think it's awesome in like a casual player way.
Well, I think it's funny you bring up Streamline because this game probably more than any other so like every Pokemon game you have like an A plot and a B plot. And the A plot is usually you get all 8 badges, you do the Elite Four. The B plot is some team thing. This is pretty much A plot.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no B plot for 98% of the game. But what they do with the A plot is they actually make it exciting again to be on the path to getting the badges. You get a inductee sort of ceremony where you get to see all the challengers, which they've never done before, and
You get special clothes.
Yeah, it gives you a cool feel. You get special clothes. You get a cheering stadium. It makes it feel like you're part of something that actually matters, and that there are other challengers. You're not just the only weird 10-year-old doing this gym circuit.
Yeah,
and others are failing. They keep telling you like, oh, only like 2 have made it this far.
Yeah.
So I love that. The competitor in me and like the sports fan, I ate this up.
Yeah.
It's almost too much at times, and I say that only because they have big stadiums pretty early on, and by the time you get to the very end of the game, you're in a very similar stadium, and it's like, it's still huge, and there's probably like 50,000 fans, but at a certain point, they kind of tip their hand too early there. But overall, that's a huge plus, and I haven't really seen many arguments to the contrary. It's just nice being like, instead of being a 10-year-old fighting some adult in a back alley or like a tiny room, you're actually fighting in front of people, and they all care, and they cheer when you have success, and they cheer when you have not success because they're kicking your ass. All of that is really, really good and one of the strongest additions to the game.
I will say, though, that as a 10-year-old who did fight adults in back alleys, the original Pokemon really prepared me for that reality as an adult.
Right.
I just wanted to, like, throw that out there. Like, it was very... Like, that's one thing that this version of the game kind of lacks, is that there's a lot less humbling. Like, you don't go through a cave for a long time and fight Zubats until your eyes bleed. Like, that doesn't happen in this game,
But who really
as far
wants
as
that
I know,
anymore?
but maybe I haven't gotten there yet.
No, doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
You know, it is
Which
weird.
thank God.
I'm playing through Yellow again, and it is weird. Like, I forget there are trainers that are like, I'm going to kill you.
That's so much harder.
Wow.
It's harder and scarier. The
Now
original
it's
Pokemon
like, I
was
sure
harder
hope
and
we
scarier.
both do our best. And
Yeah.
back then it's like, I'm going to take your bike.
Right.
Oh my
All right.
God.
Okay.
That's intense.
So, So I loved the rivals. I liked the rivals, but liking a rival is like a huge step up at this point.
Yeah.
I've hated, again, since Gold Silver, the rivals have been weak sauce. And I don't know if his name is Beady or Bede or Bede or
Bede.
whatever. Kind of
His
Pele.
Betty.
Bede.
How also have you decided that that's a man? Like that, there's
I
no
thought it was
indication.
a woman, but apparently they do say him later.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh.
he's great. I actually like that. It's like I like the very tip of the iceberg that story starts to get on. Like the idea that there's this dude who cares about this other person, so he does bad things, but only because he wants to appeal to this person.
Yeah.
And then that person kicks him to the curb.
Well, you know, and that's all. It's
Yeah.
also
That's great.
very topical. 2019, a very gender bendy kind of
there you go.
opponent. Like gender's a construct, and I think it's really important that that Pokemon embrace
Pokemon
that.
always tackling the topical politics.
God, it's so
Yeah.
good, so good.
This one's also tackling global warming, so I mean,
Oh, is it?
yeah.
I haven't gotten to that part
That's
of
the
it
B
yet.
plot. It's
Yeah.
way
Oh, got
later.
it.
You'll
Well,
get there.
Spoilers for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the rivals are solid. We were looking back at the ones from XY right before we started, and they are garbage tier children who had nothing to add to the story whatsoever. They were all the same.
And
Didn't
they're
even
all just,
remember
like,
they existed.
Supportive.
Yeah, they're all just
like,
friends.
oh, I hope we win. Everything's
Yeah.
great.
Look, I'm great friends with Chris. When we play sports, I'm not like, I sure hope you do your best, Chris.
Yeah.
Let's just go out there and have fun. No, I'm like, all right, here we go. We're both trying to win.
And it'd be fine to have a crew of characters that were your friends. It'd be a little obnoxious and lovey-dovey still, but they can't be your rivals. They are supposed to be rivals. It's in the goddamn title. So this one having basically like the antagonistic one who shits on you every time he shows up, and the hyperactive friend, which was just done last gen, but fine, whatever, a new take on it because he's the champion's brother, and the sort of like distant one who's got like this mysterious side, but actually is maybe the nicest of the three.
Yeah.
All of those are neat dynamics. I liked when all of them showed up. Hop could have showed up maybe a fewer times, and that would have been okay, but
And now
Yeah.
that I'm thinking about it, it is a little weird that the rivals are Like it's like everybody gets a rival and I am yours. Like it's a very weird, like, I'm so honored to be your rival friend. And that's like in the original game, and my name's Gary, so I've been hating myself for a long time.
Yeah.
But like in that original game, you were just like, God, Gary's such a dick. Like there was never a point where you were like, oh, I like that guy. You were never team that guy.
I like Gary, but I liked him because he was an asshole.
Right. But like but you didn't like him because he was. You didn't like him because he was sitting there going like, rival. You're my rival.
Yeah, right.
This is rivals.
Yeah,
We're rivals.
That's
He
why the
earned
first
it.
two work well. Gary's an asshole, and the one from Gold Silver is an even bigger asshole. And then Gen
Yeah.
3
Yes.
is some kind of cancer-ridden child.
because that's what rivals
Yeah.
are. Well, not cancer-ridden children. That's sort of a different thing. I'm gonna stop talking for about 30 seconds.
Team Rocket in the first one, takes a whole company hostage, and Gary shows up and is like, "Hey, what's up, Dick? Let's have a fight." And you're like, "But it's a hostage situation," and he's like, "Whatever," and then he leaves.
Yep. Yep.
So
he
we
gives
come
you
a
a
long
Lapras
way.
and he leaves,
Yeah,
which is even weirder.
Wow, that is sort of bizarre. Well, maybe rivals have always been helpful then. Just handing you Laprases left and right. Team Yell doesn't really compare to Team Rocket.
No.
Team Yell doesn't really compare to
They
anything. and
don't.
it's,
They're not really a team, almost.
I haven't
Yeah,
played
they're
in
really
a while.
not.
Yeah.
Which I kind of liked because I got really tired of the teams were like, we're going to destroy the world. And that's like the B plot. I'm like, I don't care. I am a 10-year-old child. I just
Yeah.
want to catch Pokemons.
Gary,
I
you've
don't
been out
want
of the
this.
scene for a little bit, so we've had Pokemon that can control time and space.
Yes.
We've had literally God Pokemon who creates other Pokemon.
alternate dimensions.
And we've had
Yeah.
alternate dimensions, and and
World-ending
it's always
floods.
The team that are like trying to tap into this power. It's always like the fate of the world. It was nice for once to not get stakes quite that big.
Now, last game, we had a team that was basically a bunch of garden variety thugs. So they were still kind of evil, but more just like misguided youth. And I kind of liked that. This one, what you've seen of Team Yell to the point that you're at is enough.
Okay, all right.
There
so
is nothing else to them.
No, there's not.
Team Yell, looking pink to the stream
Yeah.
of light.
Yeah.
Surrender now, or I don't know. I've been able to beat them every time.
Hold up this scroll.
It's actually been really one of the critiques of the game that I kind of have is that, but it's also a critique and like, oh, I feel good about this. Is that like, in the tradition of like content these days, where it's just like, let's not make it too hard. Like, let's make sure all the outlets have plugs in them so no one shocks themselves, and all the play equipment is, like, really safe, and the Pokemon are all exceedingly easy to beat. Like, I spent 2 seconds in Wild Area, and I was at, like, level 25 on my Frowny. I don't know what his name is. I call him Frowny. He was my starter. He's blue.
The water
one. Drizzle, Drippy.
Drizzle, I think is his name, but
Drizzle for shizzle, y'all.
That
remember.
can't be. Drizzle is his name. That's
I
just
think
what
so.
Rain does.
I know, but they spell it Grizzile. So they
Drizzile.
change it up.
Drizzile.
Oh,
Like a
Drizzile.
crocodile.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
a little different then.
Okay.
Yeah, you brought up a point, and now I forgot it because I got to start thinking of the starter Pokemon.
Easiness.
Easiness. So it was very easy. Not like made for babies like Sun and Moon was, but still pretty easy.
Oh, I don't know. I think I could hand this to a baby, and they might be able to figure it out.
Maybe, but that's why in my head canon, which is like, that's why reviewing games is so subjective, because my own headcanon made me enjoy this game more. I was going with something traumatic happened in my backstory, and I refused to.
What was the
Dynamax-
traumatic event in
my
your
father
head story?
Dynamaxed a Pokemon and it killed him.
They crushed him to death.
Yeah. So I refused to Dynamax Pokemon. My goal was to make it to the championship without ever Dynamaxing a Pokemon ever.
How did you do?
I won, but it was.
You should have Dynamaxed right at the end and accepted what happened to your father.
No.
Okay.
The whole
Alright.
point was to eschew
I'm trying to.
that fate.
He doesn't
You know,
care.
that's what my dad did. He waited until the last second and then he Dynamaxed and it killed him.
What? Wait. So was your dad involved in the Dynamax? Sorry, this is really important for the canon of the game. Was your dad involved in the discovery of the Dynamax, like
No,
with
you'll
the
get to
redhead?
that- You'll get to that in the plot. You get all the Dynamaxing, people who you thought were good or maybe not good. So actually, we talked about no plot twist. There is a small plot twist, which I actually
It's fine.
applauded. At least it's something. It's not the most straightforward plot. The whole, like every other Pokemon since maybe Black White.
Yeah.
which was a little. There was actually like a character arc in Black White.
There
for
was
someone.
a character arc, and there was actually a decent
How many
twist in that
games
one,
have there
too.
been since Black White?
This is the
Two
third
gens.
generation
So this is
since
the third.
Black White. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is what, 8, right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
I did it
They were like-
earlier and I
Eight.
forgot it now.
Should be 8.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of Pokemon.
It's a lot of Pokemon.
And they're not all in the game, and this is making people upset, right?
Yeah.
But it made it fun to never Dynamax either in the wild area or in the gyms, and it made it kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like I imagine the announcers being like commenting on me doing it old school, and that was fun. So it's
Yeah.
not fair for the review, but I took a lot away from that.
To be clear, the game never commented on how
No,
you
it
were
never
doing it old
did.
school.
No. That
Okay,
would've been cool, though.
That would have been a great feature.
So for the sake of challenge, I did the same thing with a twist in that I refused to Dynamax until they were about to be dead. And then I made my Pokemon huge and stomped the shit out of them for the very last hit of the fight.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was like, all right, I don't need this, but now that I can, let me just go ahead and show you what you felt like when you were doing this to me. And then
Yeah. Yeah,
I will
like
say,
that.
one other thing to that point about when the twist comes, I really like the fact that you finish the gym challenge first and then tackle this situation that's come up that's not even really that threatening like the other ones in the past. Because one of the things I really, really hated about Gen 3, for example, is the world's flooding. And, the Aqua and Magma have sent it out of control. And you go fix this and you catch a legendary. And then you go to the 8th gym. And you're like, well, going to the 8th gym, I guess, back to what I was doing before, even though I'm a 10-year-old who just stopped the world from dying. So let's just
Right.
pick up where we left off. It's like there are so many pacing issues in a couple different gens. 3 comes to mind, 5's not great, where it's like, this one's fine. You do that stuff. For the most part, the game keeps you away from it. There's things happening with that B-plot, and for the most part, like the champion and the professor are like, don't worry about it. You do your thing. You're a kid. We'll figure this out. We're the grown-ups. And only once it spills over do you have to get involved. I like that decision quite a bit.
Me too.
Yeah, I liked it a lot as
And it
well.
was cool. They build in the max raids into the plot at one point, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. The tournament that
Great
you have at
decision.
the end. So Gary, you do all.
We're
8
talking
gyms.
about the second gym now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to
Right
make sure.
after the
I want to make
second
sure I
gym.
didn't miss anything
Yeah,
in
you
this
just
conversation.
missed this part. You
Okay.
do all 8 gyms, and then there's a tournament between you and the other challengers that you move through before you select who's going to fight the champion.
Okay.
And
Which
it's
I,
awesome.
which I sort of called.
You
Only
did.
because with the stadium setting, I thought it made a lot of sense, and they had introduced these rivals. So it's like, even if it was just you and your 3 rivals, that would be a 4-man bracket. It actually brought in the former gym leaders, which I didn't see coming, or
That
the
was
current ones.
That
Can you
was-
refight
Oh,
them?
so is it because
Yeah.
this game plays a lot with like you're gonna fight with other people. So even as far as into the game that I've gotten, like you jump in with like I've had fights alongside my rival where like he's throwing Pokemon in. So in this final fight, do you fight alongside all these other trainers that you've been
No.
going through the ranks with?
That's one-on-one, but the post-game introduces a situation where you do exactly that.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Oh,
Spoiler
That's
alert
cool.
for, I think, everyone except me.
That's
I
okay.
think so.
that's cool.
That it has more...
We said there were spoilers.
Yeah, it has more max rating, and it
Y'all.
now involves teaming up with the gym leaders and some other folks as well.
Oh.
That's
That
cool.
is
Which is
cool.
kind of neat. So it's an
It's
interesting.
neat.
I don't think it's the best post game in this series, and I haven't done all of it yet. I've only gone through that main thread. I don't know if there's any other side legendaries. Haven't done any of that yet, but that part's nice. So there is a little bit of both. In the tournament, it's all 1 versus 1. It's all about one person emerging to fight this unbeatable champion. But before and after that, there are opportunities to do both.
How did we feel about Dynamaxing?
I think it's better than Mega Evolutions.
I do too. I was gonna say, I bet that's an unpopular opinion.
I actually have a question. What's a Mega Evolution?
It's like a temporary super evolution that a Pokemon takes, and only one can do it per fight, and it gives them some extra moves and abilities and stat increases.
Does it change their face or just
Yeah, it's like a Pokemon going Super Saiyan for like a short amount of time.
Okay.
Whereas Dynamaxing is like a Pokemon going Kaiju for a set amount of
Yeah.
time.
I'm gonna reserve my opinion until everybody else talks.
Okay. So, and I was gonna say maybe it's only the fact that they get huge and that's kind of fun, and there's a lot of pump and circumstance around them like getting all gigantic. But I liked it for what it was. I don't really need any of those gimmicks in my Pokemon games, but for what it was, I liked it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's smart because they built in a restriction for it, which is basically it has to be somewhere huge. Because, you can't be doing
Yeah.
this in a building or just Kool-Aid man out
That's
of it.
happened to my dad.
Yeah, exactly. So basically,
That's what happened to your dad. That's how you. That's a. Oh, we didn't. So explain
Yeah.
this. So
No,
he
no,
was
no,
in a
I'll-
building.
I'll-
He was in a building that was too small.
Yeah.
And then he He was in a building that was too small, and then the Dynamax, and then the whole house fell on him.
And
It was actually 2 city blocks that killed.
Oh, I got it. He Dynamax so big.
Yeah.
These
So
were
that-
tiny blocks.
Not only did he die, he also killed a bunch of innocent people.
Yeah, so it was really. So now our
What kind
name
of
is dragged through
Pokemon
the
did he
mud.
Dynamax?
It was a Metagross.
A Metagross?
I had a feeling.
At
Yeah.
least you didn't say Metapod, then it'd be really disappointing.
It
It just hardens.
So I was on a quest to redeem my
Max
family
Guard.
name as well, because my name was dragged through the mud, which But yeah, Dynamaxing. You were saying, Chris. I said my piece.
Oh, just that it basically gives you a restriction to it, so where you can only do it in these big gym battles or a couple other spots where you're outdoors or someplace where it has to have meaning. So you can't just like run up and down the streets of these different routes and find this kindergartner who's out there with his little like level 7 Pokemon and be like, "Grrr," and crush the shit out of him. So it made sense from a balance perspective, and it made it feel more important when it happened.
How do you feel about this, Michaela?
Well, when it was first announced, I thought it was pretty dumb, but I was also not as excited for this generation as some of the others.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I was actually legit not going to get this game, but then I saw the Ponyta, and I was like, okay.
You mean the
here we go.
Ponyta that's a bastardization of the Ponyta?
No,
okay,
it's
side
better.
No, side fight. We're having a side fight right now, face off. So like what they've done, like Meowth, what they did to Meowth when we got to like the whatever they put in the water in Galgaray, where are we? What's the
Galar.
Galar. So the Galar Meowth, which has its own name because there's something really fucked up in the plants that like gave it a weird beard belly, and its like face looks like it's gonna it's the most terrifying thing in the game, like objectively that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Chris said that at some point you can Dynamax it, and I was like, I don't need that. That's too much for me. Like I'll take Black Christmas this holiday season before I'm going to take a giant Meowth. But it's these Ponytas, like when I see a Meowth and it's like, oh, Meowth's coming, I'm like, oh great, I love Meowth. Member berries. I'm going to go back and relive my childhood and play with Meowth. That's not Meowth. And Ponyta, it's like that's a little pink. It's Chris called it My Little Ponyta earlier, which I've got to say is so correct.
It's
But like
accurate.
the original Ponyta was like a fierce fire.
Yeah, this
horse.
is pretty fierce too. Have you seen it? It's
Oh,
the definition of fierce.
No, it's a fluffy.
different kind of fierce, yeah.
It's a different kind of fierce. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's a different kind
but
of
this is the
fierce.
second gen to do that. Sun Moon, you got like Ice Sandshrew.
There was
and
an
Ice Sand-
Vulpix.
there was
Ice
an-
Shrew.
There was an Executor with a neck taller than most buildings.
It was
Yeah,
terrifying.
It was like a pine,
It just went-
a palm tree.
Yeah.
Okay, so things
So
are going
it turns
great
out
at the
I was
Pokemon
excited
Company.
for the Ponyta, and then my Rapidash is like not that good, really.
Yeah.
But
Is it still called a Rapidash? Why couldn't they just make it a new one? Why can't it
it's
just
the
be
same
like?
Pokemon. Like on the Pokedex, it's still like Rapidash.
I know,
Yeah.
but why couldn't you just make a new Pokemon?
Because
Why
I
do
want
we
a new
have-
Pokemon. Because then I have to catch 2 versions.
Well, you already have to catch 2 versions. Remember Galar Meowth? That's terrifying.
No, I know, but
I
I'm-
just traded Galar Meowth for just a Meowth, which apparently in this universe they know the difference. They know the difference between their mutant corrupted Meowth and their original beautiful money grubbing Meowth.
It's like a British dog and an American dog.
The new Meowth doesn't even know what coins are. It's just like
Yeah, no.
this is delicious.
He's like a Viking.
It was horrible.
A hobo Viking.
It's a hobo Viking Meowth. Are you excited, guys?
it's
Are you-
amazing.
So
you're a fan though. You love this. You got this because of My Little Ponyta.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
she
That
came for
is
the My
what
Little
I'm saying.
Pony, but she stayed
But
for
I
all
stayed
the
for the
upgrades.
rest of
Yeah.
there
Got
are
it.
so many like quality of life little changes that they do with the
Yeah.
gameplay and just
that's true.
it's really nice.
Getting to see what moves are super effective on Pokemon that
Yeah.
you fought before. Getting to access the box from wherever you
oh
are.
my god, that is so useful.
The bike works.
cheap.
Transitions from land to sea.
Yeah, that's
no
really cool.
HMs.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, this is one of those spots where it's like Gary doesn't really know this, but at the same time he does. He just doesn't know which ones are specific to this and which ones have happened over time. But I mean,
Yeah.
think about the huge jump that he has seen coming from Gold Silver. Have you played one since then?
I played Pearl and Black were the last games
Black
I
was the
played.
last one he did.
Okay.
Yeah,
so even
Black
so, I
was
mean,
my
there's been some
last.
sizable upgrades. There's some other ones too.
Oh,
that
this
are-
was like this is. I was like, wait a minute, I can just switch things from my box electronically, like it's an email, which really makes me question just everything about how Pokemon are stored and what their quality of life is like digital things. But like whatever. But it's but honestly, I'm of two minds about it because on the one side, like I do remember playing this game growing up and having to like physically go to a location and having to deal with all these things, which again, I thought this was like as an adult person, I'm like, yeah, that's good character building stuff. But I guess that like for like kids, I think the kids should have to go through challenges like having to, go all the way to a place before you can switch out your Pokemon. And if you're midway through a cave and you got one Pokemon left, you should know what it's like to fail.
That's a nice wrong opinion. No,
that's super fair. I'm also
gonna,
being a curmudgeonly old purist about it.
Don't worry, I'm going to get to that eventually.
Okay.
I will touch on that. But
yeah, we'll get to the negative
but
side
you know
too.
what I'm not a purist about? Dynamaxing. And here's why. Because I Dynamaxed a Pikachu.
Okay.
And what was really satisfying about Dynamaxing a Pikachu is when Pikachu is not doing anything, it just stands there like a Pikachu. And so you have this like thing going like, Pika. And versus like a Goldeen. It's like a fat, giant Pika versus a Goldeen that's like so comically tiny. And that visual all by itself is the most satisfying thing I've had in a video game in some time.
Well, you brought up like how this is different from previous gens, and my question is like, is Kanto just like a third world country basically, or is Kanto?
It's the Haiti of the Pokemon
Is
universe.
Kanto now just like have they had the same advancements? But
Probably. Let's go Eevee. Let's go Pikachu. Kanto.
There you go.
What does that mean?
Those are remakes of the
I'm
original.
sorry, I'm slowing the conversation down. I can't ask for everything. I get it. That's my bad. Carry on.
Yeah.
Let's go, podcast.
They're new Pokemon games. They're new Pokemon games.
Yes. They're remixed.
They're like a mix of
Oh,
Pokemon
I've seen these.
Sword
They
Shield
seem stupid to me.
and a mix of Pokemon Go.
Got it.
It's like a combination.
You want to
Got
talk
it.
about Too Easy?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh boy, I beat that in like 2 days.
Wow.
Just binged it over a weekend. It was painfully easy.
Really?
Yeah.
Got it.
But
So I want to touch on the designs, which we kind of did. Starters were pretty good. Not the best ever.
No, but
I don't
like
know if
them.
we're ever going to see the best ever now because nostalgia and some other things. But I liked all three.
I actually did like all three.
I like that they each have their own very like super animated special.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially the fire one. Honestly, he was the best.
Fireball's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
Also, his victorious pose is great because he basically is like a soccer player. So he goes down on both knees. He's like, yes!
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, dude.
He's just screaming. You win, and you go over, and he's like, yeah!
Yeah. Cinderace.
It's great. It's the best.
Phenomenal.
And a lot of the other Pokemon were like really good. I'm happier with my team in this one than I've been in a while. Like each one, I cheated. I usually like to do only new Pokemon. I brought in a Glaceon.
Cheater.
Oh, nice.
I did, but
Dirty cheater.
everyone else was new.
Yeah.
I went all new. This is probably the happiest I've been with my team since Platinum.
Yeah.
Diamond Pearl Platinum. Because there was some in that game where I was like, okay, cool. Like, here's an electric zebra. Like, I'll bring him along. He seems neat and whatever. So there was a few in that game that I liked. This is the first time since then, if not longer, where I've been like, everything I have on my team, I'm at least content with.
Who's your favorite in your team?
I mean, Cinderace is tough to beat.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
If not him, then probably Corviknight.
I love
Corviknight.
Big steel
I
bird.
play fetch with him so much. It's amazing.
That's weird.
Oh, can we talk about that? Where you can go camping with your Pokemon and
Yeah.
play games, and
I
then they love
the
you.
camping. It's so much
I think
fun.
the only reason that my Frowny, the water thing, hasn't been railing against me because it's gotten so powerful so quickly that I definitely don't have the gym badges to control it. Like, I think that's what it means when it's like, Frowny's thinking about camping. Like, like in the middle of a fight, and it's like, oh, I think that means that it really is not focused on what I'm doing.
Sure
Yeah.
is.
Is that what
Yeah.
that is?
Yep,
Okay.
you fucked
I mean,
up.
he's still look, he's still doing great stuff. Like, I send him out, he fights, he kicks all the ass, it's great. But the camping thing where you like shake your little tail feather at the thing is that's new. This is a new
Yes.
feature. Is this new of this game?
Yep.
Yeah, the
Has-
camping is new. The curry. I mean, there's been cooking mini games before.
You can
but
make
the
a lot of
curry
weird stuff out
specifically-
of those berries.
Yeah, there's
that is-
some weird-
that are surprising.
There's like a giant leek curry or something. It was weird.
I'm pretty sure I made meat out of berries, which I know is what we're
And
trying to do as a
pasta.
society. Oh, and we made pasta
and
for sure.
seafood all comes out of berries.
Yeah.
And we found fun
curry mix.
mushrooms we found mushrooms.
I love
Yeah.
Dragapult.
Camp.
Dragapult might be like he's like up there or I think mine's a she, is up there. On
What's
my favorite
Dragapult?
team. It's a dragon Pokemon that has like little baby dragons.
It's a dragon ghost, Gary.
Okay, there you go. Show him. It's
Oh,
so good.
Wow. Oh,
I
he's got
love-
little like fellas on
And
him.
yeah, those are
Yeah.
those are like the initial evolution.
Whoa.
Yeah, those are like
what,
the
what do I have to
baby
start
version.
with? Is that its
That,
first?
the little one is what you
The
start
little
with.
one. What's it called?
Dreepy.
Dreepy.
A Dreepy. I'm
Yeah,
looking
I'm
out for
offensive
one of you.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many good. I had to make a difficult choice for once, rather than being like, I guess this is my team. Like, I didn't care about them, but I also didn't care enough to switch them out for
And
a long time.
And I had
Right.
others I might have wanted to sub in, but I kind of liked my team, so I was like, I guess I'll leave him be. And I like the fossil ones, the horrible, awful
Yeah.
monstrosities that science should not be messing
They're
with.
so creepy.
Where it just looks like somebody combined two halves of two different Pokemon and they somehow merged into one.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty
like
scary.
Dracovolt is pretty entertaining to me.
I have
so-
only seen Dracovish, the weird water dragon
With his
one,
giant head and his little
with
body.
his super giant head. That's the only one I've seen. I haven't gotten any other fossils.
Is science creating all of these Pokemon? What's the story?
Not all of
behind
them.
it? So they
Sometimes.
do they. Were these naturally created? I don't know the canon. Or are these like Jurassic Park monsters that now just roam the world?
There are some that are fossilized, and science continually keeps bringing them back from the dead, which is questionable and
Just
morally
don't do
gray.
it.
But for the most part, everybody else
Read
is
a Michael
supposedly
Crichton.
like they exist in the wild, and/or Arceus made them, which is a Pokemon. So that's a whole problem. But
Oh, that's right. Is that Pokemon
Yeah,
God?
yeah,
God
that's the god
thing.
one.
I'm learning a lot right now.
He created everything else. But you can catch him in a Pokeball.
Praise Archeon.
And then you can use them in fights against the Elite Four.
Mhm,
Wow.
Which you shouldn't do
Why?
because it's breaking the game.
Oh.
And I think that should that serves as sort of a segue to the negatives of this.
Okay.
I don't think there's any doubt that it's probably a little easier than some people would like. I will say, however, I think it's only as easy as you make it. Because you weren't sure about the pacing, which is a fair problem, but if you spent a lot of time in the wild area and you emerged going to that first gym with Pokemon that were like level 35,
I did.
the game was probably too easy. If you used the box system being accessible from anywhere to pull out fresh members of your team on a whim whenever you needed them to, the game was probably too easy. It was probably too easy even if you didn't do these things because the experience share that you can't even turn off anymore and some other factors. I get that. But some people that beat this game in like 12 hours busted it in a way it wasn't supposed to be broken.
You really can bust it. I do not expect that because I'm like midway through the game now. I think I might be able to beat this game in the next 24 hours. Like I think I can get at least through all the gyms based on the pacing that has been.
You might.
That
Probably.
I've been told that this pacing is like Chris has told me that
Yep.
this pacing goes really fast
Yep.
once we get to a gym, and it's right. Like you're right. I got to that first gym and then I was at the second gym, and I don't think there's going to be much standing in the way of me just doing the gym thing.
My total time was similar to what you're looking at. So you might be
Really?
able to.
Cool.
And that brings me to my flaw. There was a lot of people saying this was unfinished. And it was not. It was not unfinished, but you could see it felt like to me there were parts where the developers could see, okay, what it seemed like was we're running up against our deadline. So we did all this cool stuff for like the first, I think it was like 5 gyms. But for the last 2 or 3, it's just going to be fighting. Pretty straightforward fights. One of them didn't even have Dynamaxing. Maybe that was a gameplay choice. Maybe they just couldn't get it in to work there.
Point.
That was a gameplay choice, but the fact remains the last 3 gyms are all boring.
Right, there's no creative
Yeah.
thing.
One is like you go. It's not an elevator. That's a different part. But it's like here's 3 people. You're gonna fight them all right now.
Yeah,
and that's
that
it.
was the last
That's
one.
the whole gym.
Yeah, that was it.
So I felt like they ran out of time. The fact that there were so many opportunities where you hear an explosion in the distance and you're like, whoa, what's that? And they're like getting ready and you're like, oh, I'm going to go there. And they're like, you stay here. We're going to go check it out.
I can't tell you how many times I like saved right before
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, here we go. We got B plot. And then they're like, nah, we got this. Go be a kid and do the gym challenge. I'm like, oh,
And that was
okay.
it. And then it was done until the very, very, very end.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you could say, oh, that's what they wanted to do with the plot, but it felt like they were just kind of cutting corners.
Yeah.
We're going to keep you focused. And I liked it, but I felt like this was the one time, again, in a long time where I wanted more from the Pokemon experience, and then it wasn't there, and I was at the end.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, no, you can't.
Oh, damn it.
No,
Use
I'm
mic,
sorry,
use mic.
as you guys were. No, are there like expanded things? Like I know you can breed Pokemon, which is gross, but like I know that you can go and like there are some side things you can do. Are there like basically is there an expanded universe? Also, is there a plan? Because one of the things that I felt like this is a 2-part question. One, is there an expanded universe? And 2, is there a plan for like updates in this game, a la like any like modern video game where once
DLC.
you DLC where you like we're playing Grand Theft Auto and like I can steal a Charizard.
Yeah,
and ride
yes,
it
you can
to
actually murder
the
a hooker
police.
on a Charizard.
Whoa, this game's awesome.
So what I'll say is it was the sparsest Pokemon offering in a long time. You can breed and you can spend a bunch of time in the wild area, but that's just you. Like it's not like content that it's just you making the game longer, which you can do, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But like every Pokemon game would have that for you.
Right.
There's not like a lot of plot or side quests. Really, there's almost no side quests. A little bit of post game stuff, which is cool. But it was just streamlined is one word, but it was like there was not a lot to it. And maybe it was because it was the first time they did a 3D system. There's a lot to figure out, so I'm hopeful. But when I was done with it, I was like, that's pretty short.
I think somebody was in a meeting and they were like, okay, we could keep spending money on this story, but I'd like you to see this big dumb Pikachu towering over this Goldeen. Do we need to spend another $1, people? I think not.
I hope that's not it. But we'll see on the next one. I have a feeling the next one's going to be a lot more robust.
I think rushed is wrong, but not completely. I think sparse is also fair. There are some things that are not in this game that I don't miss, like a laborious Zubat cave.
Look, I don't want a Zubat cave, but I want people to have to suffer through it as I have. I would like other people to know and bond over you went through that Zubat cave too?
Yeah.
There are some routes in previous games that have like 20, 25 fucking trainers on them. I don't miss that. Now, maybe it's a little too thin here. Maybe we've overcorrected, and I think that's fair. But the idea of being like, I miss when I fought 25 trainers, and my team got the shit kicked out of them, and I had to keep going back and coming forward from a Pokemon Center, and it's like, no, you don't.
I see how
you don't.
I'm wrong about this.
No, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I think there are ways to include that in certain batches, but there are examples of this where people are... this game got review bombed because...
Oh, really?
People basically didn't like the fact that they couldn't catch everything. We'll get to Dexit in a bit. But the idea basically being everybody hated it in the first day. It's amazing how many zeros the game had. And people are like, game's too short, doesn't have enough in it, super easy to beat. And it's like, the game's been out for 4 hours. You couldn't possibly have beaten it in a span. So you're giving it a 0 out of 10, which is wrong no matter what your standard is. Right. Because you just want to hate on this. And that's fine. It has warts. It has things it's missing. It could have been more robust overall. But I still enjoyed the experience.
It's still the best Pokemon game since Gold Silver. Like that's maybe why I'm so sad that it's short. It's because like I enjoyed what was there so much.
Well, the one thing, Chris, that you're sort of talking about is like one of the great features of like walking into tall grass, right? Because in the original game, you walked into tall grass, you didn't really know what was going to happen to you. You just kind of kept walking, and you don't know what was going to happen. But in this version, it's sort of great that you can actually see the Pokemon kind of running around. You can sort of see what's going to harass you. You can kind of walk around it, and it represents it's a more authentic gameplay, if that makes any sense.
Oh, we all agree on that.
Yeah, it's I definitely got to agree with you on that front, where it's like it's such a clear improvement to sort of like, and I don't know if you feel that that's an improvement, but it's like it's such a clear improvement because there are improvements in the game that actually are more representative of a reality that isn't a top scroller. Like, am I using that term correctly?
Yeah, and we didn't even touch on that. How like you can see the Pokemon wandering around, and if you want
cameras down here, it's behind you.
If you want the old school thing, they're still in the grass. If you want to go to where the exclamation point is or question mark, whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great.
I don't miss random encounters in Pokemon. I don't miss walking through grass, getting caught, and then taking another one step, and then getting caught again. Like,
finding an electrode, fucking getting mad.
I don't mind the random encounter. I don't miss it either.
That's how much I hate electrode.
Again, playing yellow, I go to battle and they use self-destruct first turn. That's bullshit. I thought, so here's what I want to see. Here's what I think would address a lot of this. I worked on these. I have two suggestions.
Notes.
I have two suggestions. One is kind of realistic. I think the other is maybe not so much. But A hard mode. I want to see a hard mode on Pokemon so people who don't care, or the casual fan, can do their regular experience shares on, whatever, Pokemon Shield, easy mode, whatever. But then you have a hard mode. Here's what I'm thinking for hard mode. The enemies actually target your, they play you the way you play them. So they're going to target your super affected, or your weaknesses. I want them to be able to switch Pokemon too if they down one of yours. You kill it, and then they know, and then they can switch, or you can switch. I want them to be able to do that too. I want, if you're fighting a trainer and they only have one Pokemon, you have 6. So of course you're gonna win. So if they only have 3, you should only be able to use 3, and then once 3 of yours faint, then
that's
done.
actually a pretty interesting idea because it is really easy when even with the gym bosses, and I know the gym bosses don't ever carry. I don't think they've ever carried.
Not until the very end.
Yeah. They don't usually carry 6, but but they should.
Yeah.
Like the game should be sort of stacked in a way that is at least a little representative of what the user's doing. I'm like, am I carrying too many Pokemon? Should I only be carrying 3?
Right.
Is this my mistake?
And I think I thought about this a lot because you don't want everyone having 6 because that becomes a slog. Every fight you have to go through 6 Pokemon.
Fair. Oh yeah, I don't want that on the trail.
If they have 3, then you're only using 3, and whoever can make the 3 faint first wins. And then no experience share. You level up. I actually, that is one
thing. Hard disagree.
No. It's on hard mode. It's an old school thing, and I know it's an old school player thing to say, but I do actually miss not having the ability to. You can turn it off, but of course I'm not going to. But I like being forced to be okay, now I'm focusing on this. It reminds me of Fire Emblem, which I like. You have to get your experience shared among the group. And there's something very satisfying in that. I didn't go so far as to say randomized level ups like Fire Emblem, although I thought about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my hard mode. And that way the regular mode's there in its entirety. You can still enjoy it. But if someone wants a challenge, it's there.
They're not going to do it.
Well, no, I don't think so. Why would they?
No. And that's the thing I keep coming back to when people suggest things for this series. I'm like, it's not wrong to want that. But it's wrong in the case of you're setting yourself up for disaster because it isn't going to happen. There will not be a Pokemon MMO. It's not going to happen.
And that's what I stayed. MMO, I don't want that.
But I like your idea, so here's my question then.
Why isn't there a Pokemon MMO?
Because there's no reason for Game Freak to make it when their games make money hand over fist right now the way they are.
Well, and I guess Pokemon Go is kind of an MMO.
Sort of, and it's also really, really difficult to balance. Is there one legendary in the world? Who catches it?
Yeah.
Right.
How often does it appear? What do you do for endgame content when everybody already has caught everything? There's only so many Pokemon in the world. There's a lot of issues with it that you could address, but it's not as simple as just just make the world and people will go into it. Okay. How do you do PvP in that game?
Yeah.
Again, you could figure it out, but it would be hard to do. You'd have to go put a lot of thought into it. Would a New Game Plus solve any of this? It's not exactly the same. It doesn't give you the hardcore experience from the beginning, but if they just put in a New Game Plus type mode where you can bring whatever you caught in their first playthrough, and now they've retuned everything the second time through to have a lot more challenges to it, more robust teams, and that way you'd be equipped from the start to handle it.
I mean, I would love that, but so I guess I would say if we could see them doing a New Game Plus, I feel like I could see them also just doing a hard mode. But either way, I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
And then that's a way to revisit. Maybe if they want to make these games a little more streamlined, we'll say, in the future. But then doing a New Game Plus, so you're re-engaging with the content again, that adds life to it. Yeah, I would be fine with that. I just want something where if you want that challenge, it's there for you. If you don't want it, you want the experience share because you just want to have fun. You want it to be accessible and convenient. Not even necessarily easy, but just that quality of life stuff. Then you can.
I want to go back to this everybody gave it a negative review thing because I think that's sort of weird because there's so many honestly quality of life improvements in the game. It's sort of is everybody just mad that it's not what they had when they were 6?
They're mad about Dexit.
They're okay.
That's it.
Can we get into Dexit a little bit? Because I don't fully.
Basically,
then we'll score it.
What's everybody mad about?
Chris will correct me if I'm wrong. This is for the first time at the end of the game. You don't get the national Dex with all the Pokemon in it, so you can't bring all the Pokemon that you've caught previously into this game. There's a set, I don't know what number it is, but that's all that's here. And if you have Pokemon from the past that aren't represented in this, then too bad.
Did people do that? Did people have an old game and they
Like-
just because I couldn't do that because my Game Boy kept changing, so I didn't know even how to do that.
Small minority, I would say. I don't have the stats, but like,
Would that be the minority that's writing a review of a Pokemon game 4 hours after it comes
There's
out?
like probably
Okay.
2%. There are people who probably don't even do this, and it would not have affected, but they heard it and are like, "Oh, that's bullshit."
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who cared the most.
Yeah.
And I understand if that's what you played these games for, because the slogan from the beginning was "Gotta catch 'em all." I understand why it's at least frustrating to some people, but the amount of hate that it got, I don't get.
No.
In fact, there have been past Pokemon games where you beat the Elite Four and the champion, and all of a sudden these other Pokemon from other regions start showing up in the wild for no apparent reason in a way that's completely world-breaking. But it was enough to let you help catch more of them in the game. So people were like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And it's like, that makes zero sense. There is no story reason whatsoever why a Pikachu would be showing up in Hoenn after the game is beaten because you beat the champion.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It was
Right.
done so that it was more ways to catch Pokemon in the game. You don't have to bring them in from everywhere else all the time.
Yeah.
But this whole idea is such a fringe minority. But as usual on the internet, the fringe minority is by far the loudest.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people who bitched about it ended up playing it anyways.
A lot of those people
they got
also
the
wrote
money.
negative reviews of Ghostbusters. Same group. It's the same people. Captain
Yep.
Marvel, Black Panther, they also hate those movies too.
Yep.
Look, the hatred for Captain Marvel and Black Panther and the Ghostbusters movie, that's like fine, or it's just like weird. Okay, I get it. Like the Ghostbusters. We're not gonna get into the Ghostbusters.
We're not going to
Yeah,
get
That
you
movie's
right
got
now.
real problems.
You opened the door to a bad
not
analogy,
the problems
Shaun.
that all the haters
You can't
had,
keep
but-
taking my bait of analogies, Gary. You
I
can't.
will take all of your
You have to
analogy
stay
baits.
focused.
I'm-
Okay, so here's my weird
Yeah,
suggestion.
say your realistic one is reasonable, and I
Yeah.
like some parts of it, but it won't happen.
No. Gym leader, like more gym leader focus. So like your goal is to like, you work your way up and then you become a gym leader. And then by being a really good gym leader, you move to like better gyms. And then eventually like you become a member of the Elite Four. Because I don't even know, like, what does that look like? How do they hire? What's the tryouts for it? This could kind of explore that, eventually working your way up to like champion. And then you have to defend your champion thing. So it's kind of like taking the other side of it, and that's your journey. You end up probably getting a similar experience in a lot of ways, but it just changes the framing. I think that could be cool and fun.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. It won't happen.
No.
I will say, I think the biggest problem with it is it's sort of more along the lines of a framework that you could use for an MMO as a way to keep the player base engaged after they complete that part of their journey. Like they could then be gatekeepers to other players if they're more advanced, but if they get beaten a lot, they get demoted or whatever. There's a lot of mechanics you could use to fold into that, but
and I was even going to say, even if it's like a post-game thing, like
That's what I was going to say.
it would be cool if you could do the whole thing, like lowly gym leader up into like better gym leader, Elite Four champion. But even if it's like, okay, you become the champion, now you have to defend your post
Yeah.
in the post game.
this game is at least opening the door to the possibility because it talks about that happening in this world.
Okay.
That gym leaders get demoted if they don't have good enough performance, and they're always looking out for new people. And then they all challenge the champion themselves at
Yes.
the end in this tournament.
Yep.
So there is a at least very, very small door opening now to where that could maybe come to fruition. So at least it's something that we can look at now, because before there was no precedence for it.
That kind of, I think, is what I had this idea floating around, and that helped me articulate it. Is them doing that in this game? Oh, the dragon dude,
Ryan?
Raihan,
Yeah.
challenging the champion, and even though he's a gym leader, it's like that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to have a gym, and I want to decorate my gym,
Yeah.
and it won't have a theme probably, but that's okay. You know, every gym has a theme.
Right.
because
Why
Maybe,
wouldn't
yeah.
your gym have a theme?
Well, because that's very limiting and boring.
What if you had to pick a theme?
It wouldn't matter because I'd be stuck to one theme.
I'm asking for your gym theme, Shaun.
Yeah, what element would you take?
I would probably try to do like a pink theme or like a theme that's not like a type, but like something that like fits my Pokemon, or like beautiful. Beautiful is a theme, or like hair. So I'd have like a Glaceon and a Rapidash because the bangs and the flowy hair and
Tangela.
a Tangela and yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
That's nice.
The hair gym.
The
Hair gym is great. I'm all about hair gym.
I hate. There was like an executive on Pokemon. They were listening to this episode. They're like, "Oh wow, that's a really good idea." And then I went with hair gym, and they're like, "No, they've turned it off." They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, his ideas have been compromised. Disregard everything he said the last 15 minutes.
yeah.
What's
So-
your gym type, Michaela?
Oh God.
It can also be hair, Jim.
Yeah.
Am I just
I
going
wouldn't-
happen now because
The
I can't
brother,
think
the
of
hair
anything?
brothers and sister.
All you have to do.
Oh my
like
God, I want to
a
go to your
twinge.
gym where you're both running the gym.
Yeah, double battles.
It's been done.
Yeah.
All you have to do is beat Hair Jim, and you're already in first place. So
That's true. I set the bar very low.
Yes.
Wait, Chris, what's your gym?
probably water.
Water? That's a good choice.
The majority of the Pokemon I've liked, or I guess the plurality or whatever, have been water types. More of my favorites have been that than anything else.
Psychic for me. I mean, if I don't want to be a psychic gym leader, but if I had to go,
But-
I love psychic.
At least now in
Yeah,
the
they're
modern
really
day
good.
games, most Pokemon have diversified enough movesets where it's not as bad as it used to be. Where it'd be like, I
Well,
only have
one
psychic
and-
moves. I
yeah.
have nothing else.
Yeah.
You could get by now. It's still limiting, but at least it's more reasonable.
The idea of a psychic Pokemon taking like a Pikachu and like lifting him, throwing him against the wall, like, what do you do against that?
Or a bird that spits a Pikachu out of its mouth at you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that
Wait,
happened.
is that
I
a
was
thing?
terrified.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll show you
Yeah.
a GIF after we're done.
Yes.
So I think we talked about the flaws. Are there any other flaws that we need to cover? There wasn't a lot for me.
The flaws are not many. It's just
Yeah.
they're sort of big when they are. It's a little too easy. It's a little too short. But
Yeah.
most stuff, so many quality of life upgrades. I like the interface quite a bit. It's clean,
Yeah.
but really effective and pleasing to the eye. It's really nice to see the game look this good as opposed to all the sprite nonsense of the last 25 years. I love that. This is a little thing, but I love the fact that the move deleter and remember guy is just in every Pokemon Center. You don't have to go
Yep.
fly to a random
That's really
town.
You don't need
Yeah,
to
that's
have
cool.
like heart scales
You
or
don't have to
whatever
have
you
an
used
item.
to
Oh my
need.
God,
Yeah.
All the stuff being streamlined is like, maybe it's because I don't know. This is the crux of it to me. Some people who hate Dexter are the ones who've been playing for forever and they want to keep duplicating that same experience. I don't. I caught them all once. There's now 900 plus Pokemon, and I'm a grown-ass man with a job that has demands. I don't want to do that anymore. So those things being gone don't affect me.
Yeah.
And the more streamlined part of the experiences that make it easier and more fun are a boon to me. It may not be that way for everybody, but for me it is. So if I'm
with
giving this
that,
a score,
yeah,
since I've already
we
kind of
should
led
get
up into
our
mine,
scores, Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to see the post-game content because I reserve the right to dock this another half point if there's not much else besides this main plot that I'm doing, but I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. I
I
like
can't
that.
go any higher than that. There's not enough meat to the bone, but
Michaela, you go next.
God. Yeah, I'll probably go with.
Don't lead with the score. Lead with your quick summary and then a score.
Oh. Okay.
Don't tell her what to do.
No, there's a format.
There's a format.
I'm
Sorry.
the OG. This is the one time I'm allowed to do that.
No,
Alright.
I enjoyed it. It's not like my favorite Pokemon experience, but I still really liked it. And considering that I wasn't planning on getting this game until like a few weeks before it came out, the fact that it got me hooked again was kind of nice. It kind of had to sell me again, but I liked it, and it didn't let me down the way some of the other previous generations
Yeah.
have, where I was excited and then I was let down. This time I had like no expectations, and it's actually pretty good. So with that in mind, I will go with an 8.5 out of 10,
Okay.
and the 0.5 will be reserved for like the post content stuff that I'm starting. That could either go up or down depending on how
Okay,
this goes.
by about 0.5.
Yeah.
0.5 margin.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Gary. So the way is you're going to do a summary,
Okay.
and then you're going to give a score.
All right. So my summary is sort of truncated because I play 2 gyms. And I know that's the entire game, but whatever.
so give it 1/4 of a summary.
I'm gonna give you 1/4 of a summary.
Somehow it'll be longer than
I'm
ours.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Somehow I'm going on longer, knowing the least about the game of anyone. I with my caveats. I am a casual gamer at best, and as a casual gamer that played it when I was a kid, played it a little bit like over the years. I've skipped several generations. I don't know a bunch of stuff. I actually really like this experience. It's like a lot of fun. I get to go through a lot of the things that were annoying before in the game are gone, and I just sort of get to go through, catch Pokemon, fight a bunch of stuff. It's kind of everything I actually liked about Pokemon Go when it came out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to give it a 9.
Oh, whoa.
I'm going to give it a 9, but
Okay.
that's a 9 from a person that doesn't spend a lot of time playing any video game, let alone Pokemon.
Yeah, don't take away all your credibility.
Well, no. It's like, look, I give it a 9 as a consumer. Like, I'm just a guy who, has $1 to spend, and I show up, even though I borrowed it from you. It's like, but where I'd have, like, I would buy this game for myself. I would buy it at home and have it and play it because it's easy. And one of the things that it does is it doesn't make you think that hard. And that's kind of nice for a game like Pokemon.
Yeah, that's why you got to not Dynamax.
Look, I love Dynamax.
I know.
I love
great.
Big Pikachu.
It looks
Big
fun.
Pikachu for days.
If I play it again, I'll probably Dynamax.
Big Pikachu 2020.
But that perspective is important because that's what Game Freak's core demographic is. And anybody else who's hung up on the fact that the game doesn't have everything they want has a justified perspective, but at the end of the day, their voices aren't going to be heard. They want, because kids don't care about that stuff either.
They don't.
They don't care about EVs and IVs. They don't care about competitive battling. They don't care about these side quests that they're never going to do because they're going to beat the game and turn it off.
No, the battles look good. The action makes sense. If you want to spend your money on clothes, I guess you can.
I did. A lot of
Totally.
Sean loves
Definitely.
clothes.
That
I
was
did
the
too.
most important part.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you not done that yet?
I haven't bought a single stitch of clothing.
You're gonna go back and you're gonna better soup up your guy.
You get plenty of money
Yeah.
later. You can do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
cool.
gonna have so much money.
Oh
you're
my
gonna
God! The money that is happening in this game is like
Yeah.
I remember in like the original game. Sometimes I get like $2 or something.
Yeah.
In this game, it's just like, oh, I beat up a small child and he gave me $900. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Also, not good advice for life.
No.
Yeah, right.
Don't do
that's-
that.
One, if you beat up a small child, they won't have $900. And two, you shouldn't do that,
Right.
even if they did.
I might reverse the order, but sure.
Yeah. Look, priorities, whatever.
Well, I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
Breaking my own rules.
I was going to say, what are you doing? You just
yeah.
stressed everybody
We're all being
else.
pretty
What's
kind
wrong
to this,
with you?
though. I guess.
No, so again, I loved it. I won't go too much into it. I kind of said it all already. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was excited to go back and play it. It never felt like a chore or a slog, which every generation, or even parts of Gold Silver, that felt that way to me, even though I love that game. This one was great. Brisk, streamlined, fun. I just can't go much higher right now than an 8 because of the things that I still want to see. A little more robust features, more of what I at least will perceive as effort in the end, like just tuning it up. I can't give it a perfect now, and then they come with everything that I was hoping it was, and it'd be like, well, I guess it's even more perfect.
Right.
So I feel like an 8 is like fair.
Well, that's the real question because we're playing out of I'm playing out of a cartridge, but theoretically you don't need a cartridge, right? You can just download this thing in the Pokemon or in the Nintendo Switch, which I love. I love the Nintendo Switch download interface thing. It honestly has kept me playing video games. How easy the Switch is to use and buy things on.
Well,
And the on the go.
Let me just
yeah,
I
and
love,
the on the go. The Wii U was my least favorite invention anyone ever had, and the Switch is it's the polar opposite.
Yeah.
I'm like, you took the same concept and you made it leave the house.
I love
Nailed
it that it's portable. I love that. I played it way more portable. But being able to play a full 3D Pokemon on my TV was like,
It's
pretty
nice.
cool.
I actually
I love it.
But
finally
see,
played
that-
it last night, and I was like, wow, this looks good.
yeah.
But it looks great. It holds up better than I expected it to on the big screen. But that's what's nice about this is that if anything, it gives us a chance to flip the script because it used to be you couldn't play these on console unless you had a Game Boy player on your Super Nintendo or something.
Right.
Now you can, whereas the other Pokemon games have all been portable. That's been the one thing, especially since the DS, where you could just fold the lid, come back to it later. Ever since then, it's been really convenient for that. So unlike most other games on the Switch, like RPGs or something, where it's really nice to be able to take it portable and turn it off, this one I wanted to play on the TV more because it was different.
Yeah.
Now that you can play it on the TV, do they have it all like a multiplayer version, or can you jump in with other people and play together?
There is the raid battle.
Little bit.
Tiny bit.
Because the thing is that with this downloadable option, they can really expand. And I don't know what. And again, if you have a cartridge, I don't know what that means.
They haven't done that a lot with the Switch. They did it a lot with the 3DS.
Because because they should really take advantage of this because they can take the ground of this game, which looks visually just so so much better than Pokemon's ever looked. Like anyone that's complaining about this game, I'm like, guys, just appreciate that this has never looked this good.
But the draw distance isn't very good. Sometimes the busyness of the park area makes it go to 20 frames per second.
Oh, whatever. Like it's yeah. Oh, actually, I will say there is a funny thing that I've noticed that happens in fights, which is they'll do those cutaways in between the moves, and like for some reason it's glitched out like crazy. So the cutaway is like 2 seconds of like some weird angle that I definitely didn't want to see.
Yeah.
And then we're like back to the fight. I'm like, could I edit that out? Is there
occasionally there's awkward pauses.
Is there a setting
cameraman
so that
fell asleep.
Actually, it's like the editor fell asleep because the cameraman's fine. He found his shot. He's ready to go, and then it was just like, and all of a sudden we're back behind Pikachu, and he's giant, and that part's great. But
So
between,
our average is like 8.2. Because he gave it a 9.
8.59.
I'm
but
really
his
messing
score
up
counts
the
for only 25%.
33.5,
Yeah.
which is like an 8.4-ish. If I'm doing the math right,
that's
8.3.
fair to me.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
I would be happy with that score. But again, it's the highest I've gone with Pokemon in a
And
lot.
it shouldn't be
Sun
much
and
higher.
Moon would have been like a 6.
Yeah.
5.
Sun
That's
and
a
Moon's like
0
5
for
or
me. I didn't
6.
even.
I wonder what we gave it back then.
I kind
Did
of
we review it on the show?
We did, and I
Oh,
think I gave it like
no.
a 7.
Oh God, what did I do?
Because at the time,
Mm.
I liked the gym idea that was
so
different in that
young
game.
then.
But what
So
I really
young
wanted was just a
innocent.
better gym version and not something different.
Yeah,
it was
right.
just the old gym experience was so stale that something new seemed better. It turns out the gyms are fine. They just need to be more interesting.
I hope I'm not eating my words. I was like, I gave it a 9.
No, but I don't think
I
you
hope
gave it a
not.
6.
Okay.
Well,
We can always
I
go
mean,
check the tape.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, though, when you're evaluating a Pokemon game, my thinking on this is like you have a lineage to compare it to. You can just compare it to other Pokemon games, and like, what is there really to say? You can do everything that you could do in previous Pokemon games. All the things that were the most annoying about Pokemon are gone, and it looks better than it's ever looked. There's like anyone that has crap to say about this game is simply not living inside of a realistic reality, which they don't have to, because you're the consumer and you can say whatever you want and think whatever.
Yep.
Speaking of the lineage, really quick, Chris, do we have enough time to... I don't want to rank all the games. I just
No.
want to say, where does this rank in them for you?
I don't know that it's necessary because none of us ranked it that high. So I'll just say, like, it's not as good as gold. It's not as good as platinum. It's somewhere after that. So above average in the series.
Notable for me, it goes like blue, red, blue, and then it goes gold, silver, and then it goes sword, shield, which is like that. I feel like it's pretty high. There's a lot of generation to be third on.
I mean, I
Yeah.
loved red. The nostalgia there is through the roof. It is a garbage game.
Oh yeah, that totally. I'm seeing that right now. It's awful.
Horrible. The quality of life improvements compared to that, like forget this gen to last from 8 to 1. Oh my god, it's not even worth talking about. There's so many.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think that
It
Pokemon
is worth talking about.
it is worth talking about. I'm going to say it's worth talking about. Pokemon Red isn't there a gangster in that game? Doesn't Team Rocket have like a gangster that's in charge?
We're talking about like the actual like gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, not story and stuff.
if you-
No, not story and stuff. Oh, the gameplay mechanics? Oh,
Here's
are you
just-
crazy? Anybody. This blows it out of the water. These
Yeah,
are the best
all right.
mechanics
Okay, good. We're still on
games
board.
ever had.
Yeah.
Ever.
Okay, I was worried because I was like, "What are you talking about?"
No. Sorry, I forgot my memory, and I said the opposite thing like 2 minutes
In
ago.
Gen 1, there's one ghost evolution tree, one dragon evolution tree. They don't
Yeah.
learn basically any moves of their type. Moves are based on, like, moves being physical or special or based on what type they are. So fire is always special, and grass is, like, always special, but rock is always physical no matter what. It's just horrible
the
moves
moves
stuff.
that Pokemon learn just in general are bad.
They get, like, 8 moves as they level up.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are garbage. You have to use TMs to give them anything decent. So I was like, why did I like Starmie so much in Gen 1? And I'm like, oh, right, he learns Surf and Ice Beam and Thunderbolt. That's why.
That's why
Yeah.
I liked him.
Not because he does anything on his own.
No.
And Psychic. Anyways.
No, there were better things to teach. Surf
Michaela
to.
has Black above it for sure.
I do. That's my number 1.
Is there anything else that goes above it? Black 2.
No, I actually didn't like Black 2 that
Yeah, I
much.
don't really like Black 2. It's
Wait,
fine.
you were kidding, or you weren't kidding? There's a Black 2?
Yeah, Black and White 2.
That's
it's
so weird.
not great, but the first one is so good. It's my favorite. And then I don't know.
Oh, she didn't grow up on like the red and
It'd
gold.
probably be up there though, because I did play them
Okay.
growing
what was
up.
your first Pokemon game?
Probably one of those early ones.
Probably Red or Blue.
Did you play any of the first three, or was your first one like Diamond or Pearl
I
on the
thought Diamond
DS?
Pearl was your first one.
It was probably the first like actual one, because I know I played the other ones before, but I didn't like take them seriously.
Yeah.
And then Diamond and Pearl was the one that I like
You
took
were like,
seriously,
I'm
and I
gonna
spent a
really
stupid
get
amount of
into
time on it.
It's my time.
Objectively though, probably like Gold Silver's pretty up there. And
Why
I mean-
do you
Yeah.
guys like gold and silver? Can you explain the appreciation for gold and silver?
Because it's what Shaun wants in a post game. Just about.
Okay.
It's the most robust post
It's a
game in the
big
series.
part of it. You go through Kanto. No,
I never got to
Johto.
the post game. The game itself was so much of a slog that I didn't want to do it.
It has a couple stretches that are not great, but a lot of the early Pokemon games do.
I think you were on drugs when you played them.
I wasn't on. I mean, I may have been.
Maybe.
on drugs.
Don't rule it out.
So you
Very
go through
possible.
all of Kanto, all of Johto, all 8 gyms, you do the Elite Four, and then you go all through Kanto. Like you go through Red Blue again.
And you get all
just
those.
just as the
all 8 of
second
those
half
badges come
of
back.
Gold Silver.
Oh,
and there's some
that's kinda
differences
good.
because it's like
Yeah.
2 years
Yeah.
later.
Maybe I should play it again. I have it. It's
But-
just it sits at home.
But play
I-
Hard Gold instead. Play the DS one.
yeah,
Play
the
the
DS
DS
ones
one?
are the ones I'm referring
Because
to as well.
most of those
on my
quality of
list.
life improvements are there. Some are not, but the majority take place in Gen 4.
I would have told you just play Gold and Silver again,
Okay.
the originals, but because you
What if
found
it's
them
the
difficult,
choice between me spending money and just turning on my old Game Boy and popping in my old gold
You
cartridge?
can do that, but you need to be careful because the battery on those has kind of like run out, so
And
you
the
might
time
not be
actually
able to
matters.
save anymore.
Yeah.
Oh no, mine's good.
I mean, I'm
Double
just saying
check.
you're taking it in your
My
hands.
Game Boys are pretty sweet. I was
Mine died.
playing those recently.
It's your cartridge. There's
The-
a
the
battery
cartridge
in the
itself?
cartridge.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
battery
Yeah,
in the
Because
Crystal,
it has a
our
clock.
Crystal copy has that problem. You can't save it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has an internal
Sucks.
clock that it uses for the game and stuff, but it's also tied to the saving, and because of that, it dies over time.
This is
So I'm just saying
much
you're taking it
more
in your hand,
complicated.
but you can just re-download it on the Virtual Console, and then you don't have to worry about that.
Or a
Oh,
ROM.
on this? On the Switch?
Yeah, no, on the 3DS.
I have to
Switch
get a
doesn't
3DS.
have a Virtual Console. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
It's really dumb.
That's
Okay.
really
It continues
weird.
to
I
be dumb.
thought
It's one
I
of
could have
Nintendo's
sworn it
biggest
like
mistakes.
it did for sure. And
No, I know. I was like convinced it did.
yeah,
They have some Nintendo and some Super Nintendo games, and if you're an online member, they're free, so I can play Link to the Past right now on my Switch for free, but it's only like 20 games a piece, and it's nowhere near what it should be.
Yep.
So it's bad.
yeah.
Pokemon
right.
review.
That's the end of the
We
review.
did
it.
Say goodbye to both
Yay.
part-timers. They'll never be back.
Never.
Gary might be back again in another 6 years.
That's
Yeah.
6 years.
true.
oh
Michaela
my
will be on the
goodness.
next channel, or the next video on this channel, so she's not actually going anywhere.
You'll be able to hear my lovely voice.
And that's it. That's the end of the
all.
show.
Great.
You'll have to deal with it.
Thank you for
Well,
listening.
are we gonna have Dave back next week or no?
I don't know. It's up to him.
He
we'll
has
do a
babies.
Sunscast when he's back.
We have a Suns cast to do.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about.
Suns have lost like 7 of 8 or something.
Wow, it's gonna be great.
And yet I'm not worried.
I object to that. Objectors. We didn't call them objectors like we were
No.
supposed to.
It hasn't really happened
I
yet.
want you to keep doing it though.
It's almost
in
like
6
that's
years. I want to.
yeah.
I'm going to be an objector. I'm listening as an
You're not
objector.
gonna be an objector. You haven't listened to like a single episode.
I'm listening now. I didn't realize the name changed. I just saw at the buzzer not making shows.
Yeah,
so
Gary's
now
like,
team
I've been
object-
googling at the buzzer every week. I haven't seen
Every
it.
week of my life, I Google this.
Yeah,
If only I
totally.
knew.
Never there.
If I knew the hosts, I could contact them and ask them, did they stop doing the show?
No.
No,
But
no, no.
okay. No, now I'm an objector, and they're objectors too.
Okay.
I mean, we always struggle with what to call them. We used America to address the audience sometimes, even though we know there's international listeners. So that wasn't great. So
No,
this is
no.
a
But
middle
that makes
ground.
me like it more.
Remember, the world is flat. We're all part in this together.
That's true.
But we were doing that with like a really heavy America presence before America first became a major presidential platform. So
I mean, it did.
it has changed
That's
a
true.
bit since we originally adopted it. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
How is America First not a presidential platform, like ever? How was this the first time that we got to there?
I don't know if we're gonna tackle this right now.
That's
kind of
not a good idea to tackle
trying
this.
to
Yeah,
outro.
at the 70-minute mark, we tackle deep-seated American politics.
Are you ready for 4 more hours of politics?
It's actually too big of a file. I can't do it.
I would do it, but Chris has to get back to work.
Yeah, I haven't actually checked in an hour and a half, so I'm a little worried, but it's fine.
It's
All right.
okay.
That is the end of this episode.
Don't worry, Gary said it's
Don't,
okay.
don't worry,
okay?
don't
Oh,
worry.
well, in that
Nothing's
case.
on fire. Everything's on fire.
Thank you for listening and watching, Objectors.
Yes!
Hey!
Yes, it happened!
I don't know. We'll see how it feels later. Anyways,
Objectors, if you like being called objectors, please write into
We won't check it, but you
the
can write a
Facebook
lot.
at Team Objection or the Twitter. I'm doing your part, sorry.
Okay. No, it's fine. Keep going.
Oh, no.
What's the email address?
The email address is objectors at Team Objection. I don't know what the email address is.
Yeah, not quite.
That sounds long.
Seems like it's a mess as you were.
Yeah, keep going. The website's objectionnetwork.com. It's youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week, and you can send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com.
I was so close.
Almost
A little
had
better
it.
than
Missed it
you.
by that much. See you next time.
Bye.